If you're considering a career in instructional design, you might be wondering what skills you're going to need to be successful. And if you are wondering that, you are in the right place. Hey, it's Jeff with YourLearningCareer.com. I've worked in instructional design in some capacity for the last 20 years, and I've built a very successful career. And today I want to share with you 6 skills that I think have contributed the most to my success. So let's jump into it. First and foremost, number 1 skill, you have got to have creativity. Instructional design, e-learning design development is a very creative field. You're coming up with ideas for learning from scratch. You're given maybe a topic or you're given a need, and then it's up to you to come up with how you're going to create a learning experience. And it could be an instructor-led course, it could be a webinar, it could be a video, it might be an e-learning course. There are a lot of different directions you can go, and there is just so much creativity needed. If you want to be successful, you've got to constantly be challenging yourself and thinking of different ways to create the learning for your audience. So creativity, definitely my number 1 skill. While creativity is very important, you need more than just creativity. Because remember, when you are creating these things, when you're creating a class, when you're creating an e-learning course, you're not just creating it for yourself. So the second skill you need to have or develop is being learner-centric. You always need to put the learner first. Now, this is something that took me a little while to fully comprehend, because the first thing, my very first job where I was doing instructional design as part of the job, I was all about the creativity. And in fact, I remember when I first learned PowerPoint, I went way overboard with the PowerPoint. Like every bullet point had a sound effect. I would whoosh in the bullet points. It was very obnoxious. And then I had all kinds of clip art that would fly in. So I wasn't really thinking about the learner. I was just having fun learning this new software. But in order to be successful, if you really want to be good at what you do, yes, you want to have the creativity, but you also have to constantly think about the learner. Anything you create needs to be about what do I want the learner to get out of this? What new skill are they going to develop? What are they going to be able to do as a result of this training? So that's one part of being learner-centric, is always putting yourself in their shoes and making sure you know what they are going to get out of your training experience. But you also, another thing I have found as an instructional designer is I am constantly having to be the defender of the learner. And what I mean is, a lot of times you're working with people who don't really understand adult learners. You will work with people who they're very, very passionate about their topic. And that's awesome. You want that in a subject matter expert. Unfortunately, though, a lot of times subject matter experts, they want to throw everything into the training, whether people are going to need it or not. And so as an instructional designer, I find that I'm constantly having to defend my learners from all of this information that my subject matter experts feel like they have to know. Oh, they have to know this. Well, no, they don't. So being learner-centric. Number 3 is collaboration. Now, many of you, if you're looking at instructional design, many of you may be introverts. I know I am. That's my tendency, believe it or not. My tendency is toward being an introvert. My preference is to work on a project by myself. Like, I like to get a project and just, take it and run with it and work it on my own. But the reality is, most projects you will need to work with a variety of people. So collaboration is absolutely key. You have got to work with all kinds of and different levels of the organization. You're going to be working with leaders. You're going to need to get buy-in from management, from leadership. You're going to have to talk to management and leadership about what the training need is. Then you're going to have to turn around and talk to others throughout the organization, the subject matter experts, the people who are actually doing it. Like if I'm doing a sales training, I need to go talk to the salespeople and get their perspective, particularly if they're my audience. So there's a lot of collaboration. So you've really got to develop those skills and be able to work with a wide variety of people. Skill number 4, you've got to be tech savvy. You need to be open to changes in technology. You need to be willing to learn that technology. And I'm not just talking about e-learning. I mean, e-learning is an obvious, yes, you know if you're building e-learning courses that you're going to be working with learning management systems, you're going to be using e-learning authoring software, you might be dabbling in some graphics software, things like that, audio editing, right? But even when you are working on instructor-led training, you still need to be up on things because, for example, I have a lot of courses that were traditionally classroom classes that we are now holding online. So we're using technology there. We're having to learn the new technology, for example, Microsoft Teams, Zoom. Zoom's a new, relatively new technology. So all of these new things that come out, you've got to be willing and able to learn them and embrace them. You can't be that person that says, I don't like change. I don't like computers. I don't want to mess with that. You've got to be keeping yourself up to date on learning technology. Skill number 5, you need to be an excellent researcher. So I talked about it's important you're constantly learning with the technology. But the other thing, you are constantly just learning, researching, investigating new things all the time because most of the projects that you're working on will probably be in areas that you are not familiar with. For example, I have been working in the healthcare industry for a very long time. And healthcare, that is not my background. I've never been a nurse. I've never been a doctor. I've never done any kind of clinical work. But there are times when I'm having to create training that has maybe some clinical aspect to it. So I have to research. I have to talk to people. I have to talk to people in the field. I have to talk to people who have experience. I have to do a lot of research reading about different things. So you have to be willing to go out there and really research and investigate these topics that you might not ordinarily go out and research. That's one aspect of it. Now, the other part of research and investigation is really figuring out what the need is. A lot of times you are told or asked to create training on something. Maybe a sales manager comes to you and says, our people aren't selling this product. Can you create a refresher training for them? The main question I'm going to ask in a situation like that is, why aren't people selling it? And I'm not going to know that just based, maybe the manager has their idea of why people aren't, but really what I need to do is go out into the field and ask the salespeople, hey, why aren't we selling this product? What's going on? And that's where I might find out what in particular I need to focus on in the training. Maybe there's an aspect of the product that's really complicated. And then I realize they know 1, 2, 3, and 4. Great. I need to focus on number 5. And you find that out by researching and investigating. Or you might find out, they're not selling it because they don't get a good commission on it. I get a higher commission when I sell this product, so I don't even bother with that product because I'm not getting paid. That could be a valid reason. And that's something I need to know before I go and waste my time developing training. So you've got to be willing to investigate, to research not only the content and the topic, but also the reason behind the request. And skill number 6, which is something that you need from beginning to end, project management. As the instructional designer, you are most likely going to also be the project manager, which means you're going to be responsible for creating a timeline, for keeping track of the deliverables, for keeping track of whatever interviews need to happen. There are all kinds of tasks and things that you need to be on top of. And I will tell you, as a creative type, this is not something that comes easy to me. It's something that has taken me a long time to get good at. And even then, I still have a lot I could improve on. I tend to be I get excited about the creative stuff. The project management stuff, that isn't really my bag. It is something, though, that you have to do if you're going to be a successful instructional designer. All right, so those are my top 6 skills for being a successful instructional designer. If you found this helpful, I appreciate a like. I would also love to hear from you in the comments. And I am going to also give you some links in the description. Check those out. I've got articles out on my website. I've got books that I can recommend to you. So I'm going to put that in the description. Also, please be sure to check out my other instructional designer related videos. I'll link to them here. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.